Hey, this is Verdeluz from Divine Timing Coaching, and we are in the eclipse window. It's the Scorpio eclipse and then the Taurus eclipse 2 weeks from now. Let's get into it. I'm donning my black for the Scorpio energy with the owl as well. Hidden mysteries are upon us, the depths of the unconscious. But a little playfulness. It's not all the darkness because we have the Uranus eclipse coming in. So I'm going to share with you over the next 2 weeks what we're going to expect here, as well as how you can work with the eclipses, who will be most affected by the eclipses, and why the fact that Mars is going retrograde during this time is also really significant, especially during when the veil is so thin during Samhain or Halloween time of the year. One of the biggest themes for this eclipse is fear versus trust. We have the eclipse on October 25th, and it's at 2 degrees of Scorpio. So you want to look at, do you have planets at the very beginning of Scorpio, at the end of Libra? If you have planets at the end of Aries, the beginning of Taurus, and also Aquarius, Leo, the beginning of those signs, they can be very affected by this eclipse. That area of your chart where the eclipses are landing is also going to be very important. And I'm going to describe that for all the rising signs in a few moments. So fear versus trust is one of the main questions here, because there's often issues of security coming up with Taurus and Scorpio when we have eclipses there. And you can think back to May 16th this year, May 15th, April 30th. That's when these two eclipses happened again. We were in that window again. So what was going on? Who was in your life? What were the themes that were really powerful and emergent for you at that time? They're really coming up again right now. One of the questions we're asking is about what are my values in relationships? What are my own personal values, right? That I know are strongest for me as an individual, and what are the values that I have to share with others? You know, whether I share a house with them, or a marriage, kids, or I share a bank account, right? Or I share a business with them, and how can I be more empowered through those relationships? But also, what compromises do I have to make? And how do I balance or negotiate my own values with the values I share with others? So resources, finances, power, who has it, who doesn't, how does it exert itself, and control in these relationships through the resources. Also, a lot of psychological transformation coming from this eclipse. It's a great time to be doing shadow work, to do things like past life regression therapy, breath work, esoteric studies like astrology, human design, numerology, the occult theme. Scorpio rules this. We're also looking at, anything that might have been swept under the rug, I didn't want to deal with before. It really comes out now that I have to deal with this, right? Especially around love and relationships, our social life, the impact we're having or not in the world, our artistic influence, the collaborations, and money, finances. This is a big economic eclipse worldwide. It's also like on a personal level. These are the two signs, Taurus and Scorpio, that most have to do with money. The Taurus eclipse is on November 8th. The lunar eclipse in Scorpio is on October 25th. And that Taurus eclipse is at 16 degrees of Taurus, and it's with Uranus. Now, this eclipse coming up on October 25th is with Venus. And that's very interesting because Venus rules Taurus. And so we're having massive themes about relationships, creativity, finances coming up with these eclipses. And all month of November, Venus and the Sun are together. Now, this is really unique. Not only during the eclipse window are they exactly conjunct, but we have Venus being, in some ways, she's blessed by the Sun. She's given this like royal decree by the Sun. The Sun is a sovereign symbol in astrology and traditional astrology. It would bestow some kinds of greater authority or greater blessing on the planet, like it's being honored by the king or the queen. But in this case, this is a different kind of queen. This is the dark goddess queen. This is Persephone, who's risen from the underworld because she's in Scorpio. Right? Or this is Kali made queen, or Inanna, or Hecate, or any of these dark goddesses. So this is definitely the season to study your dark goddess and learn how to integrate her. Whether you're male, female, or anything else, you are needing to integrate the wild, the passionate, the impactful, the influential, the dark, the mysterious. This is really up with this eclipse. So big time energy, Sun, Venus, all month. Venus rules the second eclipse. And that second eclipse, that Taurus eclipse, is with Uranus, expecting a lot of sudden changes, disruptive technology, right? That's really huge for us. That technology can be any kind of technology, literal, like through our computers and phones, but it's a knowing that what's around the corner is very different than what I might have expected. And especially since eclipses can bring the ends of certain cycles into our life, cycles of relationships, cycles of career, of where we live, of our jobs, all of it, everything. We should expect that, especially if we have planets around 16, so let's say between 10 and 20 of the fixed signs, Taurus, Scorpio, Leo, and Aquarius, those planets, those parts of our soul are going to go through a major transformation and maybe we could say sudden or surprise change. And so we have to become malleable. We have to be able to be experimental. Like we're scientists in the lab being like, oh, wow, now this is my new world. And I think of the Uranus and Taurus that's happened with all of the resources and people, revolutions, protests happening, especially around agriculture, food, basic needs, power, how we're getting access to power. We're about to step into that winter season, and how is power going to be affected for people in Europe and the UK? And interesting, like Taurus has to do with the sort of the material sustenance that we can kind of see on the surface, like food. Scorpio has to do with the power and the sustenance from what we can't see, the invisible realms. And so if you think of Hades, the lord of the underworld, or Pluto with affinity with Scorpio, you think of, like oil, right? Something below the earth, right? Or the wealth of resource of our unconscious. And that's why we talk about, what have I inherited through my family of origin, right? So then you think of like work like family constellations, or you think of like, there's like residue in my soul, right? And I don't know where this comes from. I need to do some breath work. I need to do some regression and go into it and study it deeper. And so we might be getting some themes that have been with us for a long time, but they haven't been so brought to the surface. And a lot of times they get brought to the surface, right? Because we have to fulfill some kinds of soul contracts. And so we're going to have these really powerful reflections with this Sun-Venus eclipse, with Sun-Venus all month. And especially the first couple weeks, we are really going through a major transformation in November, the last week of October as well. Then in the middle of this, Mars goes retrograde in Gemini, and Mars is squaring Neptune. And so Mars retrograde is always a time where we need to question our motivations, our desires, what's driving us, and how we can be a better messenger in our lives and share the information and ideas and concepts that we've come to vessel, right? This is Mars in Gemini. But there is a FOMO, there's a fear of missing out right now because Mars is in Gemini. So we want to do all the things with all the people all the time, and we could experience a lot of burnout. So we have to be really careful to not get distracted or scattered. And the Mars retrograde that begins on around the 30th, 31st is going to ask us to like really consider the kinds of information that we want to soak in and learn, but also what we want to give out to the world. So there is a courage right now to staying curious. And what do we want to be curious about? Now, again, there's so much coming from the past with this first eclipse because it's a south node solar eclipse. So yes, it's new movement, but it's new movement towards something that we need to excavate from within ourselves. That's a south node solar eclipse. And a north node lunar eclipse, which is coming with Taurus, is like, okay, there's a hunger, there's something new, but it's going to be because of something polarizing or emotional, or like with a kind of a bigger emotional impact to it, because it's a full moon or a lunar eclipse, but it's a north node, so it's something moving us forward. And when we look at these eclipses, we can also say that we need to be moving in a direction that is more spiritually aligned, aligned with the imagination, and not just disorientation and dissolution. And that's because Mars is squaring Neptune. There's a lot to say with that transit, but it's also all month. And so we're looking all month of November and through the eclipses. We're looking at that Mars square to Neptune as being a need to bring in the spiritual dimension. And I would say the best way of doing that is through synchronicity, through sign, through symbol, and through the arts, and allow yourself to move towards the direction where that channel can be open. Dance, qigong, tai chi, swimming, being in nature. These are ways to work with Mars and Neptune, also very healthy. But there can be repressed anger that can start to come out with Mars retrograde. And it may just be that we feel confused, right? And we don't know where we're going. So getting the support that we need from coaches, astrologers, teachers, mentors, really important during this time. Therapists, especially in the Scorpio season, going into the unconscious. Now, if you're at Aries or Libra rising, this eclipse, the Scorpio eclipse and Taurus eclipse, are going to be in your second house and eighth house. And why am I saying Aries or Libra rising? It's because whenever eclipses happen, they're happening in opposite areas of our life. So we need to integrate both of those areas. We have an ending of certain phases and relationships and themes in one area, and then we have a growth happening in the other. And usually there's sort of like a kind of boomerang effect between those two houses. And so whether you're Aries rising or Libra rising, you're going to have Taurus and Scorpio as your second and eighth houses. And so this is everything we've been talking about around, my personal resources versus those that I share with others. Again, looking at themes of the second house, how do I build my self-confidence, my self-esteem, get clear on what's important to me as an individual, and start making my own money from a place that feels in alignment. Eighth house, how do I learn how to partner with people and collaborate and compromise some of my own values to share some with others, right? Who has contacts that I might be benefiting from if I partner with them? I could have a bigger impact in my life and in my work. I also may be receiving inheritances, or there may be taxes that I have to deal with, eighth house, other people's money, my own banking institutions, credit, these types of things can come in. Do I need a loan to take out, right? Do I need to partner with people who have better skills in certain areas than I do? And I need to learn to delegate. That's a kind of way of working with eighth house energy as well. So if you move to Taurus rising and Scorpio rising, those two, that means that the eclipses are very, very strong for you because they're angular and they're happening in the two houses that relate to the personal self, how I identify me, rising sign, and the seventh house, the area of partnership, relationships. So we know for sure that these eclipses are going to be bringing up, any intimate bonds that you have with others. There's going to be a major shift. There could be an end of a relationship, a beginning of another relationship. If you aren't in one, very likely something could be coming into your life. The theme of partnering, compatibility, collaboration becomes dominant in life, but also how you stand out with your own image can be really coming up. And is that presenting in a way that feels authentic and in alignment for you? With Gemini and Sagittarius rising, we're looking at the 12th house and the 6th house axis. And the 6th house, which is the area of health and illness, this is the area that, again, we could be looking at, okay, maybe I have a lot more work at this time in my life. Am I managing my time properly? Am I being really efficient? with the details every day? Do I have things organized and structured? Am I working too much? Again, delegation, that theme could come up. It's about service. And am I fulfilling my service in the best way? The 12th house is more of the theme of releasing into spirit, the unconscious, but more the collective unconscious. So this could be where we're receiving dreams during these eclipse seasons of getting messages from our higher self. It could be taking time to go to an art show and there's some, symbol there that unlocks a memory from your soul. Right? It could also be other cultures, but specifically more like foreign lands that could come up for you. There could be people from there or places calling you. That would also be a 12th house theme. Even like educational systems, hospitals, institutions that you may feel like I have some work to do here. I have some message from here or to there to give. When you're looking at Cancer and Capricorn, we're talking about, those would be the 4th and the 10th house that we're talking about. And now we're talking about if the energies are landing in, if you're Cancer rising, then you're going to have the eclipses, in Scorpio, Taurus houses, which are going to be the 11th and the 5th house. So Cancer, the 5th house over, is going to be Scorpio, and then you're going to have Capricorn in the 11th house. It could be the opposite too. And so when you're working with the 5th house as Capricorn rising or Cancer rising and the 11th house, it's about my own creativity, my own ability to express myself, to enjoy my life, or my children and my own solar child, playful child, creative child, having fun, right? That could be coming up. Like I want to have more fun during this season, but I also want a community that I could do that with. I want a tribe. That's the 11th house. I want people that share the same goals and causes. So what is my role in the creative, as a creator in the community? That's coming up with this eclipse. Who are my people, right? If I don't have them around me, what do I need to do to find them? Are there certain Facebook groups or meetups that I need to go to? That would be something aligned with the 11th house. And then if we're looking at Leo Aquarius, and if you're Leo rising, then we're going to have Scorpio down at the area of the home. Aquarius is going to have Taurus down at the area of the home. That means the opposite area is going to be the area of career. And so this is also a very strong eclipse cycle because it's angular again. And so big pivots often will be coming in the areas of our home. Likely a relocation might be happening for you. It may have started 6 months ago. It may be due to a career change. Usually there's a connection between our career shifting and our home. And so am I growing because I'm going to move, in terms of my professional life? What way can I have a bigger impact in the world? Is this work that I'm doing, how is it taking away from or giving me more time with my family or to be in my house? Or do I need to work from my home? Is my home a really grounded place for me? Does it have what I need, what my true values are? Again, Scorpio, Taurus, eclipse, values coming up, really important. Am I having the impact that I need to have in my professional life? If not, I need to make a change. And so there might be something entrepreneurial coming in. You might be getting more resources coming. You might want to direct some of your resources towards your home. So lots of different expressions. These are the 12 signs and the rising, the signs that are, rising or setting, depending on that and where the eclipses are going to fall in your chart. So check that out. Very powerful season ahead of us. We also have a square from Saturn going direct. And so there is going to be some forward movement, but it's through some hard work and through some real sense of working with time, steady growth, and being committed to what feels like a path of, systematic structuring in our life. and structuring towards something that feels authentic and new and experimental and exciting for us, which is that Uranus energy coming in. So Saturn-Uranus square, all of us dancing between these worlds, delicately balancing the uncertain and the surprise and the innovative with some kind of grounding that I can slowly build into through my success and hard work. All right, well, great to speak with you all today. If you want some personal support, just contact me through Divine Timing Coaching, and I look forward to sharing with you more soon. Namaste.